in the Philadelphia area. We also have our Caitlin Ross. She's right outside of our studios here in Old City. But let's start with Steve Keeley. He's had quite a time in Allentown this morning. Steve.
Well, one thing you can say about the people of Allentown and the companies in Allentown, they're experts at dealing with this weather, the freezing kind of stuff that falls no matter what it is, whether it's the rain that freezes when it hits the ground or the surfaces, sleet, snow. So they've got the power on. In fact, the power company's headquarters is the tallest building here. That's the PPL building a lot of people recognize. And they're doing a good job because you see the lights on in that building and all the other buildings and all the traffic lights. So that's making life a whole lot easier here than it is in other places that don't get this kind of weather all the time. The old 1899 built Civil War Memorial standing strong right in the middle of Central Square here as we see a big salt truck waiting for the light. People are getting to work and they're getting around, although this town has been coated with snow a whole heck of a lot. But right now, as this salt truck zooms by us, what we can show you is ice is coating everything up here just as well. And perhaps the nicest, prettiest picture is you got the nice lights there in Central Square, but look at the tree right in front of that. You can see it almost looks like it's springtime and it's growing ice buds this morning because you can see the ice particles there. That is a beautiful picture and not so beautiful if you're walking. The sidewalk here, you actually have good traction because it had a couple of inches of maybe ice, but it looks like snow, but you sink into it so you don't slip. But it's definitely ice because it's crunchy, it's hard, but you're getting some traction as we see somebody walking up the street here and no one is falling because it's not a sheet of ice. And maybe it's almost a better idea not to shovel the sidewalks when you think about it because then you won't slip and fall. This lamppost right here, a complete coating of ice. It's super slippery. You can't even break it off there at all. But you know, Mike, Mayor Pulaski just dropped out of the governor's race, the mayor of Allentown, because he said he had so much work to do. Every time he tried to raise money, he had to come back to Allentown. And here he is probably working hard again today. How about our mayor of Philadelphia? What a coincidence. Guess what he's talking about? He's down in Johannesburg, South Africa. Temperature 76 degrees, talking about global warming.
Yeah, there you go. Also over in Sochi, I think it was in the 50s yesterday.
Man, all right.
Had the Winter Olympics in the Delaware Valley, for goodness sake.
Thank you, Steve. We should
Well, on the last night I talked about how it's easier to walk on unshoveled sidewalks than to shovel. And there they did shovel a little bit of the sidewalk, and I think the guy that was doing it got the idea that maybe just leave it alone because you've got a good layer of crunchy stuff to walk on. Because as we come back to where I'm standing here, and you can see after he shoveled it, the rain was still falling and it started freezing right on contact, and this is super slippery. You have the bigger chance for the lawsuit because you shoveled here as opposed to not shoveling. And they always tell you got to shovel after the storm ends, and you don't want somebody falling on the snow and ice. But this is the kind of stuff, it's like a crunchy, compact thing that you got good footing on. You don't have good footing when you shovel, which is the opposite of what we see normally. And we're talking about all these tree limbs falling. I can kind of demonstrate here with this small tree. Look at this thing. It is just coated in ice. And I don't want to snap it off here, but maybe I can you can shake some of the ice off. And if this little tree has this much ice on it, you can imagine what the big trees over the big highways are doing. And so this is the kind of stuff you see that's coating the power lines and all the tree branches, and then you've got tree branches crashing down onto the power lines and falling into them. So just real bad all over, and that's what makes this storm, of all the storms so far this winter, the worst storm. People here in Allentown may be the lucky ones because no word from PPL on any kind of power outages out here. Maybe they've already had all the trees over all the power lines up here fall in previous storms. And, Mike, when you're enjoying that Billy Joel concert this summer at Citizens Bank Ballpark, think of this ugly, fat, frozen face here in Allentown when he starts singing Allentown, will you?
I will. I'll think of your big, well, your face, because it's not ugly or whatever. It's just frozen. I'll think of your frozen face.
That's a nice word. Thank you, Steve.
All right, everything's frozen in Allentown.
Well, Chanel, everybody knows downtown Allentown, its tallest building is the PPL Electric headquarters building, the one you see with the flag flying. They are so busy in there. I do that tease at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. They say to me, they just hit over 50,000 power outages. Right before this, they go, we're close to 53,000. So thousands are losing power by the minute. Their worst county, Lancaster County, more than 42,000 homes and businesses without power. Surprisingly, maybe to some people, where we are, Lehigh County, less than 100. They just went from 23 to 82, so this county not so bad. The second worst county, Dauphin County, that's the Poconos, more than 3,000 and growing. And then number 3, Chester County, close to 2,500. And here's the reason why. Ice is coating everything. This looks like fluffy snow. You got to be like a martial artist to cut it away. It's very hard and compact. Ladies, if you're going to use your umbrella today because it's raining out, you might want to keep it closed, and instead of using it over your head, use it as a pickaxe like you're climbing a mountain just to keep your footing. These guys out here have been trying to shovel this stuff. You can't shovel it. They went over it with snow blowers. Look, you can just see the tracks from the snowblower wheels. This stuff is not coming up. It's almost like concrete. So all they did was lay tracks. None of this stuff would come up. It's not the heavy slush that we had earlier in this week. It is just compact ice, Mike. It's like if you bought a Slurpee at 7-Eleven and you put that Slurpee in your freezer for a couple of nights. That's what we have on the ground, on the trees, and on the power lines, and that's why everybody is without electric right now.
I know what you're talking about because I've actually put a Slurpee in my freezer. All right, thank you. 8:06. Talking about power. That's the story of the day.